This time of year, so many of our thoughts turn to Bethlehem. But what if the land itself could actually speak? Imagine that. What if, underneath all the layers of history and conflict we see today, it had its own story to tell? A story of unity. That's what we're going to dive into. A really powerful message, told from the perspective of the land of Bethlehem itself.
So, the story kicks off with a really unique narrator. We're not hearing from a historian or a theologian. We're hearing from the ancient land itself. And it's asking us to see it as this timeless witness, something that was here long before any of the borders or the names or the divisions we know today. It's asking us to listen from a place that's much, much deeper than our history books. Okay, so to really get this story, we have to go back, way back, before the first star ever shone over Bethlehem, before a single word of scripture was ever written down. We're talking about a time of primordial origin. Now, the story introduces this core concept it calls the light. And right away, we need to be clear, this isn't physical light, like from the sun or a star. Nope, it's described as this conscious, foundational energy, the very fabric of existence that literally breathes everything into being, from entire galaxies all the way down to each and every one of us. And of course, throughout history, humanity has tried to put a name on this single source, right? We've called it God, Allah, Yahweh, or we've used more modern terms like source or the unified field. But here's the key takeaway from the story. The names themselves, they aren't what's important. They're all just different fingers pointing at the same moon. Different labels for the very same thing. And this is absolutely crucial. This isn't some distant, abstract idea. The story's most important message is that this universal light isn't separate from us. It is us. You are made of it. All of you. Every single one of us. No exceptions. Okay, so if we all come from this one light, then how should we think about the great spiritual messengers who walked this very land? Well, the story presents them in a new way, not as founders of separate teams competing against each other, but as different voices, all reminding us of the same single truth. Let's take the birth of Jesus in Bethlehem, for example. This story reframes it. It's not about the beginning of a new doctrine, but as the arrival of a specific frequency, like a vibration. It was this powerful, living reminder of core human values: compassion, unity, forgiveness, and just this boundless, unconditional love. And that core teaching right there, it's not about looking for salvation outside of ourselves. It's a pretty radical call to look within, to recognize that the connection to the divine, to the source, is already there, inside each and every one of us. And this very land, it was a crossroads for so many of these messengers. Think about it. From Abraham, Sarah, and Hagar, through their sons, Isaac and Ishmael, all the way to Moses, then Jesus, then Muhammad. They are all part of this long, continuous story of remembering that unfolded right here on the sacred soil. And this is so important. The Jewish and Arab lines, which we so often see as separate or even opposed, are presented here as two rivers flowing from the exact same source, from two brothers, Isaac and Ishmael. One line became the keepers of covenant and memory, the other the keepers of breath and devotion. But their origin, their very beginning, it's shared. But if this land was a cradle of shared awakening, we have to ask the really hard question. How did a place of such profound connection become a land of such deep sorrow? The narrative now has to shift to address this tragedy. Really, how did this happen? How did siblings forget they were family? How did the memory of a shared light just fade into the darkness of division? The breakdown is laid out as this tragic, almost logical progression. It all starts with forgetting that shared ancestry, forgetting that the divine lives in everyone. And in that empty space left by memory, fear began to grow. Then, that fear led to physical separation, literally building walls where people once shared wells. And finally, that generational pain, when it's left unhealed, it turns outward and becomes pain inflicted on others. The land itself even speaks to this immense suffering, talking about absorbing centuries of tears right into its soil. But even in this darkest part of the story, there is a seed of hope. It offers this profound idea that pain doesn't have to be the end of the road. It can be transformed. It can be composted into wisdom and into healing. And this brings us to the final, upward arc of the story. After all that forgetting, we now turn to the gift for our time, the powerful act of remembering. And this is framed as the true miracle our world needs right now. So, the miracle we should be looking for this Christmas, it isn't something external or supernatural. The real gift, the true power, lies in a collective shift in our own consciousness, in all of humanity finally remembering its inherent oneness. And this is the land's direct message to every single one of us, to the children of Isaac and the children of Ishmael, to every faith and every person. It's this powerful call to remember an identity that came before all the conflict, an identity rooted in shared light and ultimate unity. This just completely redefines one of the most sought-after things on Earth, peace. See, in this story, peace isn't some political treaty signed by leaders. It's an internal state. It's an act of remembering our shared humanity that has to happen inside each of us before it can ever show up on the outside. So, what does all this mean for us, right here, right now? The story now turns its focus directly on our generation, giving us a specific role and, a responsibility in this great remembering. The story really gets our unique position in history. We are the generation that scrolls through endless feeds, getting bombarded by 1,000 different narratives every single day. We carry the weight of the world's despair, for sure, but we also hold this incredible potential for brilliance. And maybe for the first time in history, we have the technology to share a single unifying story all at once across the entire globe. So the final call is to reframe this entire season. Let's move beyond a purely historical remembrance and see it as a present-day opportunity, an opportunity for the collective rebirth of humanity, grounded in the consciousness of our shared light. And here it is, the final, powerful affirmation, the ideal we're all seeking, the peace we desire, the heaven we imagine. It's not some far-off place or a distant future. It is a potential that exists right here within us, just waiting to be realized, now. So that leaves us with one final provocative question. In a world of 1,000 competing narratives, the power is truly in our hands. We are the storytellers now. So the question is, what story will you choose to live? And what story will you choose to amplify?